But anyway, I'm going to talk about Ron Paul, and I'm going to start by talking about 76 and the spirit of 76. Now, normally when you hear the term spirit of 76, you think of Declaration of Independence, beginning of the American Revolution, founding of this country. In this case, I'm going to talk about 1976 and the spirit of 76. And a couple things happened in 1976. I was born. I got married. You got married. There's two. I'm adding one.
State income tax was passed.
Oh, wow. But also in 1976, there was a special election in a district of Texas just outside of Houston. And a doctor, a Republican who was previously an outsider to politics, was elected to Congress for the first time. Special election. So he went off to Washington. Now, also in 1976, it was a presidential year, right? You all remember. And Gerald Ford, who was the incumbent at the time, was seeking the Republican Party nomination for the presidency. Now, remember, Ford had never been elected by the American people. He wasn't chosen as vice president, nor was he chosen as a president. So he was in, even though he was the incumbent president of the United States, he was in somewhat of a precarious position. So he needed to get all the support from every Republican he could find. So I guess he thought in his mind, well, let me go pick the lowest hanging fruit out there and make sure I line up all the endorsements for myself. So he probably figured, well, here's this young congressman, you know, probably still a little bit wet behind the ears, just got to Washington, special election. Let me call him in, give him a little bit of the wow factor in the Oval Office, and get him on my team. So he called this freshman congressman into the Oval Office. Congressman, pleasure to meet you, and I want to congratulate you on your special election. Well, thank you, Mr. President. Well, as you know, I'm running for president, and I'd like to have your support. And the freshman congressman looked right in the eyes of the President of the United States, and he said, I'm sorry, Mr. President, but I cannot support you. I'm supporting Ronald Reagan.
Who?
Ronald Reagan. That is the spirit of 76, and that man was Ron Paul. He was one of only 4 congressmen at the time to endorse Ronald Reagan in 1976, not the incumbent President Gerald Ford. So when I say the spirit of 76, I mean someone and the spirit of having the personal integrity to stand by your convictions and what you believe, no matter how tough the pressure is against you, and no matter how high the stakes are, and how unpopular your choice may be. Now that also means standing up for the principles that Ronald Reagan embodied, which of course was true American traditional conservatism. And that's what Ron Paul has been doing since he was elected in 1976 up through the present day. You know, we as Republicans have to remember the Republican Party works best, and Reagan proved this, though he wasn't successful in 76. He went on to become one of the most successful presidents in the 20th century, you know, winning twice with great victories, and really rebuilt the Republican Party. The Republican Party is at its strongest when we really focus on the core principles, limited government, individual freedom, free markets. And that's what Ron Paul has been advocating since the beginning. He served now 10 terms in Congress. And he calls himself the champion of the Constitution. What does that mean? That means he doesn't compromise on defending the Bill of Rights. When it comes, somebody had mentioned McCain-Feingold. Voted against McCain-Feingold. Because you're absolutely right. It's a terrible violation of free speech in the First Amendment. He's voted repetitively and courageously to defend the rights of Americans to protect themselves. That's the Second Amendment. Has voted against incursions on the Fourth Amendment, which protect the privacy of American citizens from an ever-growing and intrusive federal government. On other issues near and dear to us, sovereignty. Someone had mentioned North American Union. Someone had mentioned illegal immigration. Look, long before this was a popular issue, Ron Paul was talking about it. We have got, a sovereign nation has got to have defensible borders that are clearly demarcated. We have to know who's coming in and who's coming out. It's all about privacy. This is about property rights. We are a sovereign nation. We have to mark our borders. If someone wants to come in, they go through the proper procedure to come in. When it comes to life issues, you know, a lot of candidates talk about life issues. As far as I'm concerned, I almost wish Ron Paul would be more forceful when these issues come up in the debate to talk about it, because he has more credibility to talk about defense of life than any other Republican candidate. Why is that? Because he's an obstetrician. He has brought 4,000 lives into this world. There's no one who has more credibility and knowledge and understanding of the importance of defending life than Congressman Ron Paul. So essentially, this is where we stand. We have an individual who's taken on issues in this campaign that no one else wants to talk about. We often get distracted by some social issues and some political issues that, at the end of the day, don't have a tremendous impact on some of the issues that were brought up before. The budget, the debt. The Constitution of the United States that was given in 1787 does not say, as we're taught probably in school nowadays, it's become a free-for-all, we've gotten away from what the original intent was. The Constitution says the federal government has a limited number of powers and this is what they are. It doesn't say the federal government can do what it wants and here's a few examples. Article 1, Section 8 clearly lists what responsibilities and duties the federal government has. If it's not listed there, it's reserved to the people and to the states. What does that mean? That means the federal government should have no role in determining how to educate American children. And certainly, as you all know, certainly people my age are very well attuned to this, the federal government has absolutely no authority to take money from me and say that they're saving it for my retirement.
That's right.
Ron Paul's the only one talking about this, about reforming Social Security. So, these are the kinds of issues that have been talked about in this campaign. This is the kind of courage that he's brought to this campaign. And it all gets back to following up on what Ronald Reagan had started with in 1976. At the end of the day, this country is really a great experiment in freedom. If nothing else, it's a wonderful experiment in freedom. And given the track of big government that we're on, it's an experiment that's gone awry. We need to correct that. Because if we get back to what the Constitution that was given to us in 1787, this would be a limited government paradise. That's what we should aim for. That's why Ron Paul's running for president. That's what he wants to restore. I'm ready. Bring it on. I have a feeling this is a good question.
No good question. Has Ron Paul ever voted to increase taxes, raise the national debt, or redistribute wealth?
I don't know. What do you guys think?
No.
Sure, has he been alive?
The answer is no.
The answer is no. In 10 terms in Congress, no. He's never voted to do anything.
You got a perfect record.
That's absolutely right.
That's all I want to know.
They'll never ask the question he doesn't know the answer to it.
Anyone else?
Any other questions? Let them off.
Well, that was perfect. Let me just close with one other thing. We talked about what I had said about the presidential primary. It's a shame that we didn't have an opportunity to bring more of the candidates in because of the way it was structured. Because this, we should always be concerned about party building, how to rebuild the Republican Party in the state of New Jersey. And I think you've all seen the passion that Ron Paul supporters bring. You've seen the signs on the highways. You've seen them outside, holding the signs. These are people that have never been involved in politics, and they certainly haven't been involved in the Republican Party. What we need to do moving forward, whatever happens on February 5th with Ron Paul, what I intend to do is really bring these people, get them into the Republican Party, get them on county committee, get them starting to run in these uncompetitive districts for state assembly, get them to run for freeholder. All the passion that they bring to these debates and the rallies that they hold. Let's send them to rallies, and protest the freeholder meetings in some of these Democrat counties in New Jersey. That's what we need to be doing, building up the party. There's a great man running for the United States Senate who will be back here to talk. That's Dr. Murray Sabrin from Rand-Paul College. He's a personal friend of Ron Paul. He's speaking for him down in Mercer County this evening. So, we really need to have candidates that are going to bring these new people into the party and rebuild it so that we can start winning back the state of New Jersey.
Excuse me, you're going to rebuild the party. You're going to come in as conservatives or as Republicans? I mean, Republicans don't always have cookie cutter conservatism.
I agree.
Sometimes we go a little right, a little left. But if they're going to be to commit sabotage, if we don't do what they want, I'd rather not have them as Republicans.
Well, no, it's not a matter of committing sabotage. It's about saying the Republican Party should get back to a set of principles. And the principles should be about promoting the government which governs best is that which governs least. We don't want the government in our lives, whether it's at the local level, whether it's at the county level, the state level, or the federal level. So it's about getting people who are of like mind that say, we know how to run our own lives, we can take care of our own families, we know how to educate our children, what kind of morals we want in our home, and how to spend our own money. We don't need government at any level doing that. Once people can agree on that general set of principles, that's what we should use to move forward and rebuild the Republican Party.